to the Military Times Reporters Roundtable, where we bring you the news behind the week's biggest headlines. I'm your host, Military Times Capitol Hill Bureau Chief Leo Shane, and I'm joined in studio today by a pair of my Pentagon colleagues, Megan Myers, Pentagon Bureau Chief for the Military Times, and Joe Gould, Defense News Pentagon expert. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Let's dive right into the biggest story of the last week, which is abortion. In the last few days, since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion across America, numerous states have moved to outlaw the procedure. Now, that's caused concerns among some service members and advocates who say that women stationed in those states will be forced to give up their health care rights just because of their military obligations. A number of lawmakers in Capitol Hill have called for Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin to find ways around these new state laws, perhaps providing travel stipends, flexible medical leave, something to the women who request some sort of help on this. Megan, what's been the Pentagon's response so far? Where do we stand on this?
So the Pentagon's first step was to basically put out a message to the force saying we are taking your rights and your reproductive health seriously. We are going to go through our policies and tell you what we know now and what we may want to change in the future. The second thing that they did is say that there's going to be continuity of care for the types of abortions that the military already covers and for the travel that's associated with them. And the issue becomes if you are in a state that you can get an abortion on post, you're good to go. If you can't get it on your installation, you can get approved non-chargeable leave, you can get travel covered. But if it is one of the abortions that is not approved by the federal government, so one that isn't because of rape or incest or the life of the mother, then you can take leave. Your commander is obligated to give you that leave, but you're going to have to pay out of pocket for all of the travel expenses.
Yeah, so those, as you said, those abortions that are covered right now, that's a really small set of what we're talking about, correct?
It's a really small set, and it's also the ones that you are able to get done in a military hospital. That's even rarer. Not every military treatment facility can accommodate them. And so what they have done in the past is just send people to private clinics off base. But if you are now in a place like Texas, where that's a little more complicated, or states particularly like Alabama, South Dakota, where there's no exception for rape or incest, then you're talking about sending people out of state on the military's dime to be able to do these procedures that are approved.
And of course, this is a very personal situation, personal decision. There's going to be women who don't want to talk to their commanders about this and get their permission to go out.
Right, and even in cases before where maybe you could have had the procedure done on your installation, maybe you don't want anyone in your chain of command to know because that will automatically show up in your medical records. So women who previously would have taken care of it themselves are no longer going to have that option.
So Joe, I know this issue came up in the debate over the House Appropriations Committee's discussions over the budget for fiscal 2023. There was a little bit of back and forth with Republicans, not much change though. How much of an issue do you think this becomes as we go into the defense budget season and into the authorization bill? Is this going to really stymie things?
Well, the proposal that was included in the House Appropriations bill that was drafted by Democrats would protect or guarantee leave for service members or DoD civilians who want to get abortions and request leave for them. Republicans at the committee markup disagreed with that and signaled that it is going to be an issue for them. I think with the Supreme Court decision, I mean, we don't know how charged of an issue this is going to be, but I would assume that it is going to come up again.
While we're on the defense budget, in recent weeks we've seen 4 different top lines for defense spending next year. The Biden administration is looking at a 4% increase over current level spending. That's a big jump, but House appropriators are looking for a few billion above that. House Armed Services Committee came out with a proposal that's $37 billion above that. Senate Armed Services came out with a proposal that's $45 billion above that. Joe, what's going on with the defense budget? Where's it going to come in?
Well, I think we can see that it's trending upward. I mean, that's a fair bet. Pentagon leaders said, before we even started to see top lines from Congress, that because of inflation, they locked in their inflation numbers fairly early in the budget drafting process, and what they said was that they wanted to come back to Congress to increase the budget. So we knew that it was going to go up above Biden's request. What they also said was that they didn't want lots more weapons and equipment than what they had put in the budget, and that's what we're seeing. So at the same time, the Biden administration last year, when the defense budget was raised, didn't push back too hard. The Pentagon and the budget. So I think we can see that it's going to go up.
I don't think it surprises me. We see this every year. We see the administration come out with a budget proposal, and you get the push and pull, and Congress usually adds money to it. This is what we see. What's shocked me is just that range at this point. You seem to have Democrats defending the Biden budget proposal, but then all the way up to this $45 billion plus up, and I don't have a good sense of where it could end up on that range. It could be a very significant increase, as you say, for inflation and other equipment. But the $45 billion that the Senate Armed Services put out is much more than inflation. It's a bunch of unfunded requirements. It's a handful of other priorities they want. It'll be interesting. And now, one of the things that was included in the defense authorization bill on both the House and the Senate side was some concerns about the Army combat fitness test. They're looking for a real overhaul here. Talk a little bit about that, and what's the problem with these gender-neutral standards that they're trying to work out for the military?
So this most recent push that lawmakers have made would create separate standards based on what your occupational specialty is. If you have an infantry job, you're in the cavalry, it's a lot more physical. They want to have a higher standard of fitness for it. It's ironic because when this test was originally conceived, that is what the Army wanted. And they wanted it to be gender neutral and age neutral. The problem is that the standards that they put out first were very hard for most women in the Army to meet. And so the Army decided to compromise and go back to having an age standard and a gender standard and not a job-focused standard. That was also at the pushing of some lawmakers who were concerned about women failing. And so now that has been completed and they've rolled out this test, there are lawmakers on the other side who are pushing back and saying this test isn't hard enough if you have a direct combat job.
So now it seems like they're finally headed to a separate set of fitness tests, which we've heard for years here. Folks who are working in an office job, folks who are working in some sort of planning and logistics don't need the same requirements as folks who are going to be lugging heavy packs around, who are going to be facing combat. So it seems like that's what they're going to. How tough is it going to be to get there?
It depends on whether they want to have a separate fitness test or they just want to have sort of like a special standards within the standards depending on your job, and then it can just be the same for everybody else. I don't really foresee them coming up with all sorts of new events and new modalities for the test. I think they're just going to tweak what kind of score everybody needs to get.
But the Army just started using this new test, and now it looks like maybe they're not going to be using it for too long, or they'll be using modifications to it.
Right, or they won't be doing tests for the record for another year. It'll still all be in a piloting phase like it has been.
No, it's a lot of changes there. All right, finally this week, before I let you both go, the 4th of July holiday is right around the corner. To help our viewers celebrate the holiday properly, I want you both to recommend a good, realistic military movie that folks can watch. And before you answer, since I know you're already going to answer Independence Day from 1996, why is that the greatest, most realistic military movie you've ever seen?
I mean, I think despite, whether aliens exist or not, if aliens came, I feel like that's probably pretty much how we'd handle it. We just try to throw bombs at things. That's how we handle
We
things.
just had a whole hearing about how aliens exist, right? That was the House Intelligence Committee just did one of those. So
Yeah.
My favorite.
you're going to give an actual recommendation. Give an actual recommendation.
Yeah, my actual recommendation. I love Apocalypse Now. I don't know that.
I don't feel like that's the kind of uplifting thing. So
it's a Vietnam War era classic, and that's it's a great movie.
Yeah, or if anyone wants to feel more triumphant, We Were Soldiers is a good one. That'll make you feel nice.
All right, I'm gonna just go out and see the Top Gun sequel. Go Top Gun Maverick.
yeah.
It's much more. It looks very nice and everything. So, all right, look, that's all the time we have this week. Thanks to both of you for coming out today and for giving us some more insight here. You can learn more about all the topics we discussed by visiting militarydimes.com. Thank you for watching, and be careful with those backyard fireworks.
Welcome to Earth.